Hello, everyone, and welcome to ProLine. Our 2013 college football preview edition continues. We're going to take a look at the Big Ten today. I'm John Cranton in Las Vegas, joined by Jeff Saad, who runs Las Vegas Sports Services. Got the Big Ten returning starters, some betting trends, and total tips to keep in mind. First of all, looking back at 2012, you had the one dominant team, Ohio State, 8-0 in the Big Ten, and a perfect 12-0 for the season. That was under their first-year coach of Urban Meyer. Remarkable. And they weren't eligible to win the national title, but they are eligible this season. And again, they're certainly the clear favorites to take the Big Ten. In second place, you had Nebraska at 7-1, but that only loss, they were destroyed by Ohio State, 63-38. Then you had a couple of other teams, three that were just 6-2. That was Penn State, Michigan, or two teams. So I'm not sure if it's going to be a wide open race. We might as well start, Jeff, with the team that hasn't lost a game under their first-year coach. The Buckeyes for real, or were they a bit of a fluke last year?
No, they're for real. They returned 9 on offense, 4 on defense, 12-0 last season, 7-5 against the spread. They did lose the entire starting defensive line, but they have the second best recruiting class in the country, so they just plug them right in. They have 3 sophomores, including Noah Spence and Adolphus Washington and junior Michael Bennett, who will move into those spots. Should have another powerful offense. Braxton Miller, quarterback, has run for nearly 2,000 yards the last 2 years. Carlos Hyde will combine with senior Jordan Hall at running back. 4 starters return on the offensive line. They're 3-1. They were 3-1 straight up and against the spread on the road last year under Urban Meyer. They were underdogs twice last season and won both games, of course. They were against Michigan State and Wisconsin. As usual, the Buckeyes they play a pretty weak non-conference schedule. That's pretty much what they do every year. They do have one tough road game, though. They have to go to the West Coast and play at California September 14th. That could be a problem. But the other home games on the non-conference schedules are Buffalo, Florida A&M, and San Diego State. The toughest conference road games would probably be Penn State and Michigan, and they don't have to play Nebraska and Michigan State, and they get Wisconsin at home. So the schedule is pretty favorable. The other 12-0 season is very possible. I'll take them to go 11-1, though, John.
So you think they are definitely for real. I'm going to take a look at the Nebraska, the team that finished 7-1. That was tops in the Big Ten Legends division for Bo Pelini. Well, he's got plenty of talent returning this year, 7 starters on offense and 5 on defense. Let's start with the strength of the team, and that is the offense. You got senior quarterback Taylor Martinez back, 23 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, and he's a 4-year starter, but also his legs are really what makes this offense go. He had just over 1,000 yards rushing. You got 4 offensive line returning starters, and along with junior running back Amir Abdullah, he had 1,137 yards. So this ground game for Nebraska is once again going to be one of the best in the country. Last year, that was all they needed. They averaged 34.8 points. They ranked 8th in the nation in rushing, 253.4 yards per game. It was definitely a run-first offense, as the passing game didn't have to do a lot, and it's probably going to be the case this year. It's the defense, though, that really took a step back. First of all, they have only 2 part-time starters returning to the front 7, so they lost some key players on the defensive line. They also have 3 new linebackers, and this is a defense that got shredded last year, especially late in the year. Wisconsin beat them 70-31. Georgia in the bowl game trashed them 45-31, and I mentioned that 63-38 loss to Ohio State. So this defense can be soft up front, and that's something that was Bo Pelini's specialty at LSU before he got here, and that's something that this Husker team was not last year, and that has to be the focal point of turning around, which didn't happen from last year. A couple of things to keep in mind. First of all, the schedule is actually pretty good for them. Nebraska is going to open with 5 consecutive home games. They're all easy outside of UCLA. But they could have a nice start. In fact, if they win that UCLA game, there's a chance they could be 8-0 before playing Michigan on November 16th. So they're going to win some games and be in another bowl game. A couple of betting trends to keep in mind. They've been great on the road under Bo Pelini, 16-9 straight up, 14-11 against the spread. And with that combination of bad defense and very good offense, 9-5 run over the total into the new season. Certainly looks like that could continue. All right, Jeff, let's take a look at Big Blue. Is Michigan, are they going to be Big Blue? Are they going to be winners, or are they going to be crying blue this season?
They should be pretty good this year. They have 5 back on offense, 6 on defense. They were 8-5 last year, straight up 6-7 against the spread. Denard Robertson's gone, of course, but so Devin Gardner's going to step in there at quarterback. He threw for 11 TDs, had 5 interceptions last year. He won his first 3 starts, Gardner did, but then he lost those 2 games against Ohio State and South Carolina. The running back's going to be the question mark here. Fitz Toussaint gained only 514 yards last year. That's due to he missed 3 games due to suspensions and injuries, and he didn't play in the spring game either. But he's supposedly 100% recovered, and he should get a lot more chances this year with Robinson gone. But he's not guaranteed a starting job. They got 3 or 4 other guys who are still in the running. Defense, last year's leading tackler, Jake Ryan, tore his ACL in the spring. He'll probably miss at least half the season. And the secondary has to replace 2 starters, but they do get Blake Countess back. He was out last season recovering from a torn ACL there. Michigan 16-18 straight up. 14-20 against the spread in his last 34 road games, so not too good there. The schedule, last week Brady Hoke made a joke that Notre Dame is chickening out because they're not going to play, and they eliminated them from future schedules. Where Michigan is not too brave themselves. Their home games this year are against Central Michigan, Akron, and they have a road game at UConn, and that's wrapped around the game against Notre Dame. They get Michigan State, Northwestern on the road, Nebraska, Ohio State at home. I'll give him a break here. I'll take Michigan. I'll go with Michigan with a 10-2 season, John.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at Wisconsin. This is a team that was 8-6 last year. However, they lost some close games, so they could have been better. There's a lot to like about Wisconsin, but you have to start with the coaching because the Badgers got a big surprise when Brett Bielema decided to jump ship, but they kind of lucked out. One of the hot coaching prospects in the country was Gary Anderson, who really did wonders at Utah State. So he's the new coach at Wisconsin. He likes to run the football with a triple option, and his Utah State teams have really been explosive on offense the last couple of years. Last year's team, 34.9 points per game and over 200 yards rushing and passing. So a coach like this is going to have fun with all the Wisconsin talent and speed and depth that the offense has. They do return a starting quarterback, sophomore Joel Stave. He had only 6 touchdowns and 3 interceptions last year, but he wasn't healthy as he didn't play the whole year because of injuries. And around him, boy, just a boatload of talent for the Badgers. You get running back James White, 806 yards, 6.4 yards per carry. Melvin Gordon, a running back. Plus you got seniors wide receiver Jared Abrenderis with 837 yards and tight end Jacob Peterson. This is an offense that was very potent, 29.6 points per game, 236 yards rushing. That was the strength of the offense because the passing game was 115th in the country with 156 yards, and they're probably going to be better at rushing than passing again this year because that's what the new coach, Gary Anderson, likes to do. Then you look at this defense for Wisconsin. This is something that he never had when he was at Utah State. Outstanding talent. You get 6 starters back on defense. Wisconsin allowed 19 points per game last year. That was 17th in the nation. The defensive line is very deep. They have a terrific senior linebacker in Chris Borland. The only concern would be the secondary where they lose 3 full-time starters. 8-6 record last year, but remember, 4 of those losses were by 3 points. 2 others were by 6 and 7 points. So a couple of breaks here and there, and the Badgers could have been a 10 or 11 win team. When you look at the schedule, really, September really stands out as the key for Wisconsin. They have a road trip at Arizona State, September 14th. And then you've got Ohio State on September 28th, and that's a road trip too. So a very big September for Wisconsin. And if you want to look at spread trends, boy, the Badgers the last 9 years at home have been phenomenal. 57-7 straight up, 34-24 against the spread. Jeff, how about Happy Valley? Are the Nittany Lions going to have a bounce back or a very good season, or are they going to be a little bit down?
Yeah, they're happy again. They were 8-4 straight up, 9-2-1 against the spread last season. They were obviously undervalued the whole year because people underestimated them after that tumultuous off season. So that might even out a little bit this year. You might want to be careful with Penn State this year because you're not going to get that value in the line that you did last year. They returned 6 on offense, 6 on defense. Bill O'Brien did a tremendous job under the circumstances. He even made a good quarterback out of Matt McGloin, which people thought couldn't be done. McGloin's gone, but so it's going to be the sophomore Tyler Ferguson or a true freshman Christian Hackenberg at quarterback this year. Zach Zwinnick's back at running back. Last year he ran for 1,000 yards, 4.9 yards per carry, 6 TDs. The top 3 receivers return, 3 starters return on the offensive line. So it looks pretty good on offense there. Defense was 16th in the country last year, and 19.1 points per game allowed. They did lose the defensive coordinator. Ted Roof went to Georgia Tech, so John Butler takes over there. So things look good for Penn State, considering everything they've been through the last couple of years. The only problem could be depth because the scholarship situation. The schedule, they open at Syracuse. They have to play at Ohio State and Wisconsin, and they get Michigan and Nebraska at home. I think they'll finish third in the Leaders Division. I'll go with Penn State with an 8-4 season, John.
Okay, I'll take a look at Michigan State. Here's a team that was only 3-5 in the Big Ten last year, but they're kind of a wild card this year, and the reason is experience. Mark D'Antoni was rebuilding last year, and they squeezed out a winning record, 7-6. Weren't very good against the spread, 5-8 ATS, and that's because the offense had production in the middle of the field, but boy, when they got in the red zone, they really slowed down. You've got 8 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. Senior quarterback Andrew Maxwell's back. 13 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, only 52.5% completions, and they really struggled at finding the end zone. Just 20 points per game last year. That's 110th in the nation. So if things don't improve with all the senior experience, they may have to make a change as far as philosophy and perhaps the offensive coordinator, because the talent is there to be much more productive in the red zone. They do have a lot of skill position talent back. They lose their stud running back. However, got a very big offensive line returning, and you got key talent at running back and at the flanker returning. But this is still going to be a run-first offense. And the big reason for that, though, is the defense. This was the best defense in the Big Ten last year, one of the best in the country, and they certainly look like that again. You got 6 starters return on a defense that ranked 4th in the country in yards allowed. You got senior defensive tackle Micah J. Reynolds up front and junior nose tackle James Kittredge. It's just a big, powerful defensive front. And this team allowed just 16.3 points per game. That was 9th in the nation. And when you look at the schedule, they get Michigan at home. The only tough road games really are at Notre Dame, and that's early September 27th, and then at Nebraska, which is the finale. So between those 2 games in September and late November, they have a relatively easy schedule. But keep this in mind, Michigan State has been a money burner at home for some reason, 20-35 against the spread. The last 55 home games, they've just been overvalued by odds makers. With that questionable offense and what is going to be one of the best defenses in the Big Ten, I wouldn't be surprised to see this team look at under the total. Jeff, how about another surprise team, and that would be in Northwestern? They kind of come out of nowhere last year.
Yeah, they are 10-3, 12-1 against the spread. That's outstanding. They returned 8 on offense, 7 on defense. They were 110th in the nation of passing. They still won those 10 games. Usually, I don't like a 2-quarterback system, but it seemed to work for them last year. Kane Coulter and Trevor Simeon will do the same this year. They'll probably alternate a quarterback again. Coulter threw for 872 yards, 8 TDs. Simeon passed for more than 1,300 yards with 6 TDs. Coulter also rushed for 894 yards. This year, though, they have to replace 3 starters on the offensive line. Running back Venvik Mark will be back. He ran for more than 1,300 yards last year, 6 yards per carry. The 3 top wide receivers returned. Defense looks the secondary looks solid. The 2 of the linebackers returned, and senior Tyler Scott's back at defensive end. He led the defense in several categories last year, so things look pretty good at Northwestern. The schedule, they have that game at Cal. There was a controversy about that this week. It's going to start at 7:30, of course, in West Coast time, 9:30 Chicago time. So they won't get back home till Sunday morning at 8 a.m. And supposedly Sunday is one of their big preparation days, so they're worried that's going to affect their game the following week when they play at home versus Syracuse. So just one more thing to keep in mind there. Let's see, what else? Oh, they have a 12-1 against the spread record and a 7-0 against the spread run right now. So Northwestern certainly was a money winner. We made a lot of money last year, but this year it could, just like with Penn State, when one season a team has a great against the spread record, many times next season it goes back to even or reverses. So another thing to keep in mind. I would go with Nebraska. Northwestern with I'll predict a 9-3 record for this year for Northwestern, John.
Okay, I'll take a look at a team that's hoping for a bounce-back season in the Big Ten. That's the Iowa Hawkeyes. Boy, they had off a terrible season, 4-8 straight up, 3-9 against the spread. The folks in Ames were expecting a much better season. It was a very disappointing season, and the criticism has to start with the offensive coordinator, Greg Davis. This is a guy who has a very good track record. He used to be at Texas. He was there when Vince Young was there, won a national title with Mac Brown. Well, he went to Iowa last year. That was his first year with the Hawkeyes. And he was inheriting a very good senior quarterback in James Vandenberg, a very good, balanced, potent offense, and yet nothing went right. The offense was just terrible, and they were 102nd in the nation in passing, 104th in yards rushing. Nothing went right. So what we're seeing is some changes. Davis is still there. But he's added the no-huddle to spring practice, and they've been working on it a lot. So that's something that you're going to look for with Iowa. I wouldn't be surprised to see them using the no-huddle more after just what was a disastrous offensive season last year. Problem is that they really don't have any quarterback experience. There are 3 guys who didn't throw a pass for the Hawkeyes last year who'll be working in. You got redshirt freshman C.J. Beathard. You got a JUCO transfer and sophomore Cody Sokol, and then a sophomore quarterback Jake Ruddock. From here, I'd have to say that Ruddock is probably the guy who's going to step up because he was a heralded player coming out of Broward County down in Florida, and the scouting report on him is that he's smart, he makes excellent reads, and he can deliver the ball accurately, and he's kind of a good fit for what Iowa and Kirk Ferentz like to run, and it's a balanced pro-style attack. He seems to be a good fit for that. So this offense can't be any worse and certainly has the talent around them to be better because despite limited quarterback experience, plenty of talent and experience around him. You get junior running back Damon Bullock. You got junior running back Mark Weissman, who had 815 yards, over 5 yards per carry. You got a junior wide receiver, Cavante Martin Manley, who had 571 yards. A big senior tight end, 6'7", senior C.J. Fedorowicz, and then a 6'3" freshman named Derek Willis. He's had created quite a bit of buzz around camp and looks like a keeper, so got to believe this offense is going to be upgraded. The defense was surprisingly very good last year. They were 33rd in the nation, giving up just 22.9 points per game. You might want to look at that with a grain of salt because with the offense struggling to score points, you can look at that and say, well, the other team didn't have to score a lot of points. And keep in mind that when they played Penn State, they got destroyed 38-14, and they also got mauled by Michigan 42-17. So on paper, anyway, the Iowa defense looks very strong, but there are some concerns with it. And one is they were terrible at rushing the passer, only 13 sacks last year. Good news is 9 starters return on defense. And they got a terrific linebacking core. So overall, the Hawkeyes should be very strong defensively, and the offense really can't be any worse. As far as the schedule, they have their rivalry game in week 3. That's at Iowa State. It's always a close game. And if they can win that, the other games around that are actually easy, so there's a chance that Iowa could start 5-0 heading into the Michigan State game. So I would expect a bounce-back season for the Hawkeyes. Jeff, NFL preseason football is coming up. What kind of specials do you have going at LVSS early on?
This is the time of the year to get the best prices, and right now you're going to get 4 weeks. Actually, the entire preseason, all the 5-star players edge plays for the entire preseason for only $19. All you have to do is call LVSS at 1-866-575-8916. All the 5-star players all the way through the preseason, just $19. 1-866-575-8916.
Okay, and keep in mind, Jim Feist has an early bird NFL special. You can get the entire preseason, 4 weeks from Jim Feist, including his preseason game of the year, $29. 1-866-841-1655. All right, thanks for joining us, everyone. Make sure you check out jimfeist.tv for more NFL and college football previews. Good luck with the games, everyone.